All right, moving on to the big focus on our show today. The Delhi police registered a case of cheating and criminal conspiracy against top Congress leaders Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi on a complaint filed by the Enforcement Directorate in the long-running National Herald issue, alleging that they fraudulently acquired Associated Journals that was publishing the party mouthpiece. Now, the Economic Offences Wing of the Delhi police filed this fresh FIR. It's not just the Gandhis, the others are named as well, including Sam Pitroda, accusing them of criminal conspiracy. And according to investigators, the conspiracy centers around the alleged fraudulent takeover of Associated Journals Limited, AJL, the company that owns the National Herald newspaper. Now, Dotex, Kolkata-based, it's seen now as a shell company, allegedly routed 1 crore to Young Indian, enabling it to take over AJL's 2,000 crore assets for only 50 lakh paid to the Congress. The Congress has dismissed this FIR as politically driven, alleging repeated harassment of its leadership. And it said, and I quote, completely bogus, a one-trick wonder of a case where no money moved, where no immovable property transferred, yet money laundering was invented. The BJP has launched a sharp attack, stating that this scam has exposed the deep-rooted corruption in the Congress party. And I must point out here that the Enforcement Directorate had filed a charge sheet as well in the case in the Delhi court in April. The court, however, is yet to take cognizance with the hearing date scheduled now for the 16th of December.
कांग्रेस पार्टी का जन्मी अत्याचार, अन्याय और देश की आजादी की लड़ाई के संघर्ष के लिए हुआ था। आजादी के पहले यही नेशनल हेराल्ड अखबार, यही गांधी परिवार अंग्रेजों के खिलाफ लड़ता था, उनके निशाने पे था। और आज लगभग वैसे ही हालात में मौजूदा सरकार जैसे अंग्रेज हमारे लोकतांत्रिक अधिकारों को छीनकर वोट का अधिकार नहीं दिया था, उसी तरह काम कर रही है। तो ये एक उत्पीड़न, राजनीतिक विद्वेष से का कदम है और हम इसकी निंदा करते हैं।
तो आप लूट करेंगे, पूरे अकाउंट की फर्जीवाड़ा करके इस कंपनी को ओन कर लेंगे, उसके माध्यम से हजारों करोड़ की संपत्ति पूरे भारतवर्ष में ले लेंगे और आप कहेंगे हमें फंसाया जा रहा है। तो बिल्कुल सीधा सीधा लूट का मामला है। तो कानून अपना काम कर रहा है तो करने दें, और ये हम लोग के पहले का है। लेकिन उनकी इनकम टैक्स में हार हुई, उनकी दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट में हार हुई, उनकी सुप्रीम कोर्ट में हार हुई, तो अब फेस करें। और एक बात देश को जानना जरूरी है, जो दिल्ली पुलिस ने एफआईआर फाइल किया है उसमें सोनिया जी और राहुल गांधी के खिलाफ 120B क्रिमिनल कॉन्स्पिरेसी और 420 का भी आरोप लगाया गया है।
Just before the winter session of Parliament today, FIR has been registered against Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi in the National Herald case. Delhi Police EOW wing has registered the FIR.
See, misuse of the central agencies are rampant. They don't want the institution of opposition. The parliamentary democracy will become redundant if the institution of opposition is not respected. Why the parliamentary proceedings are disrupted? They don't want the opposition space. They don't want the opposition voice to be heard there.
सेशन से पहले की बात क्या, ये तो लंबे समय से चल रहा है। नया नहीं, ये तो मैटर तो कोर्ट में, मैटर सब जुडिस है। कोर्ट जो हम लोग जिस देश में रहते हैं, संविधान की अगर बात करते हैं, आज संविधान का किताब लेके घूमते हैं, तो हम लोग कोर्ट को मानते हैं ना, कि कोर्ट में जो जुडिशियल प्रोसेस है उसमें जो फैसला आएगा सबको मान्य है। तो
राजनीतिक साजिश के तहत
तो भाई कोर्ट है ना, अगर राजनीतिक साजिश भी है, अगर लगता है आपको, तो कोर्ट में आपका अपना पक्ष रखिए, दूध का दूध पानी का पानी हो जाएगा।
So let's take a look at the allegations against the Gandhis, against the Congress today. Remember, this is a case that was filed in 2012 by a political leader, Subramaniam Swamy. At the time, he had filed it on his personal, he had filed it in the police based on his personal allegations regarding these various issues. Now, what the allegations currently are is that Congress leaders illegally took over AJL through Young Indian, a company controlled by the Gandhis. Congress allegedly gave 90.5 90.2 crore in loans to AJL, and rights to recover 90.2 crore debt was transferred then to Young Indian for just 50 lakh rupees. That is where the case now rests. A Young Indian converted this debt into equity in 2010, acquiring over 99% of AJL, and according to the Enforcement Directorate, the properties, the assets of AJL are now valued around 5,000 crores, and that these were acquired for 50 lakh. And that is why this criminal case now has been brought up against the Gandhis as well as others also named, including Sam Pitroda and the companies involved. Well, to talk more about this and these allegations, because remember, the Congress has claimed that this is a political witch hunt against their top leadership. We're now joined by Tuhin Sinha, spokesperson of the BJP, Nikhil Jain, a political analyst, someone who supports the Congress, Rashid Kidwai, senior journalist, someone who's written on the Gandhis, Amitabh Tiwari, founder of Vote5 and political strategist, and Ashutosh Srivastav, advocate, Supreme Court of India. Thank you so much all for joining us on the program. And, my first question is to Nikhil Jain. Nikhil Jain, the Congress has called this a political witch hunt. But if we look at the details, and I just spelt out those allegations, on what basis was the company Young Indian made to acquire assets of Associated Journals Limited, once valued at nearly 2,000 crores, for only 50 lakh? That does raise a lot of questions, doesn't it?
No, Gargi, it might, in the spectrum that the Enforcement Directorate and the agencies present, it might raise some serious questions regarding financial irregularities. But my simple core point remains that when the case has been in motion since 2012, we're in 2025. Why is it that in 13 years, the trial has not really proceeded? And every time we find the government on the back foot, we have a situation where the Gandhi, some of the other, a movement takes forward in this case, whether the Gandhis are issued a show cause notice, whether they're called to the ED office, or a new FIR is registered, or an ECIR is registered. If indeed there are those financial irregularities and the Gandhis are the beneficiaries of it, why is law not taking its course? That is the primary problem. And also, this allegation is made that 2,000 crores of assets were transferred for 50 lakhs. I think anybody making this allegation doesn't, understand the simple concept of equity in a firm. When you take equity in a firm, you don't only just take over the assets, you also take over the liabilities. You also take over the responsibility of running the enterprise. AJL has crores of liabilities. It has a lot of operating expenses. So if National Herald. So if AJL has indeed taken over it, it has also taken over those liabilities and not just the assets. But nothing comes out of this case. It is just being used as a political tool to, delay and disrupt things. Now, and the timing is indeed suspect. Tomorrow you will have the
charge sheet has also been filed by the Enforcement Directorate with the court.
But why is the trial not proceeding? Charge sheet is a very preliminary stage of the legal proceeding. Why is the trial not proceeding? 13 years is a long enough time for them to have gotten a conviction if indeed Gandhis have done something wrong.
All right, the court is going to take up the matter early December, but let me go to Tuhin Sinha. Tuhin Sinha, your response to this, the questions being raised by the Congress, they're calling it a witch hunt, but why has it really taken over a decade for now a fresh FIR with criminal conspiracies to be filed, and that too, the Congress raising the question of the timing just ahead of the winter session at a time when Rahul Gandhi has been raising the issue of vote chori?
Well, good evening, Gargi. Good evening, everybody. While the Congress may pretend it does not know how long cases take in India, the fodder scam conviction happened 18 years after the case was first opened. The JMM bribery case took 13 years. And in this particular case, in the, in the National Herald case, even the complaint was filed by a private individual. So, we are not even involved as a government. But the fact is, the case involves criminal conspiracy of usurping the property of National Herald through an act of criminal chicanery, through forming, the new company, Young India Limited, which acquired the entire shareholding of AJL with a paid-up capital of 50 lakhs and thereby also got rid of the 90 crore loan of that company. So this requires a high level of criminal aptitude, and hats off to the accused, because, they seem to be fighting against vote chori. But what we see over here is asset chori involving, one of the most pious organizations involved in the freedom struggle. It is for the Congress party to ask questions of their leaders. And I am surprised with the way Congress party is supporting Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi in this wrongdoing. This only shows the subservient culture in the Congress party. They should be the ones questioning Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi over the usurping of shares and usurping of shareholding in this manner.
All right. Well, Amitabh Tiwari, Amitabh, if we talk about the point raised by the Congress and this witch hunt, this is something that we've seen the opposition again and again talk about, how agencies are being used to target them, and that this particular case, this long-running National Herald case, is one such example, especially when it comes to the Gandhis.
No, essentially nowadays any case is being fought in two courts. One is judiciary and the other is the public court, because since already 14 years have elapsed since the complaint was filed in 2011. So any impact of any such case has to be seen with respect to impact on voters of the Congress party, voters of the BJP or let's say the incumbent government, and swing or neutral voters. So largely on the voters of the Congress party or the India bloc, this is not likely to have any material impact. Similarly, on the BJP or the NDA voters also, because largely no impact, because they anyways would have gone with what the BJP line of thinking is on this case. We will have to wait and see what is the impact on the neutral or the swing voters, because that is the voters which are going to significantly impact the electoral fortunes of any party, and whether this case will have any significant impact on the 4 state elections or the 5 state elections which are going to happen in 2026. I think it is unlikely to have a significant impact unless the case progresses and the Gandhis are actually going to be penalized by the courts. Until then, I don't think it's likely to have any significant impact on the swing or the neutral voters. Yes, this will be fought in the public courts. BJP will have a point before the parliament session to highlight that the opposition is not letting the parliament function because it does not want to discuss this case.
But Rashid Kid, why doesn't this case also keep this, cloud over the Gandhis? As somebody who's written on the Gandhis, this repeated reopening of the National Herald case, BJP saying it reflects a genuine legal process. But Congress claiming this is a pattern of targeting the Gandhis specifically.
So I think Gargi or the prima facie, this is a clear attempt to keep us some kind of spotlight of allegations of corruption on Gandhis. The legal process cannot be the punishment. The trial has been going on. I mean, the trial has not started. The case was registered, as everybody's been saying, for 11, 12. To cite example on the part of Tuhin Sinha that in JMM, everyone got away. So JMM was a very poor reflection on the entire trial proceedings. So therefore, I feel that the ED's track record of dealing with politically inspired cases or where politicians are involved is very poor. By its own admission, by the responses in Parliament, Gandhis have roots in society. They are political players, and they have a lot of history and past. See, this is not an idea of, to malign them like this. If there is an open and shut case, I am not getting into the merits of the case because the matter is sub judice. But if there is anything, then the government of the day must expedite. See, they cannot be doing, every time there is a parliament session, they come up with this kind of thing. This is a very poor reflection how government functions or how. But
Rashid, why there's also this cloud over the Gandhis of this, impropriety, corruption. Do you think this is something that the public is, now these cases just give that impression to the public?
Clearly, there is an attempt to give that impression, but I think it is politically motivated. And as Amitabh is saying, it is not going to yield any, dividends. It's actually a very poor reflection on the functioning of government, because the government keeps, targeting leader of opposition. Leader of opposition, remember, has a place in the constitutional scheme of things. And to say these kind of things without proof is, I think, politically.
All right, but the BJP is saying that agencies, are working and finding, working independently criminality and finding these issues. Ashutosh, coming to you as the legal voice here as well, if you can talk about the point that Tuhin made about how cases do take long, so don't question how long this National Herald case has been ongoing, and also now to bring this criminality charge is also been questioned by the Congress, who says even if you have to bring more charges, it's more a civil corporate irregularity, if at all.
See, first of all, as we know that the entire investigation was set up by the trial court, by a court in Delhi, which passed the order for issue process based on the private complaint filed by Mr. Subramaniam Swamy.
Yes.
So the investigation was already going on. And this order, as we know, was challenged before the High Court and then also before the Supreme Court. However, the Supreme Court rejected the quashing petition, and though it allowed that dispensing the personal appearance of all the accused, that they should not appear in person before the trial court. So this was the only relief which was granted, but it was not quashed. And by the time the investigation was already going on by the Enforcement Directorate, so initially the investigation was based on the misuse of funds,
yes.
and the ED was investigating about the sort of any money laundering, or maybe the process which was involved in acquiring the shares of this company, AJL. So that was already undergoing, and ED came to a conclusion that it seems that there could have been some sort of unlawful activity, and this is an allegation, though it has not yet been proven. But
that's right.
ED was of that view, and accordingly, the fresh FIR has been registered.
All right.
Obviously, the accused may have their rights to go to the court for quashing. The court will decide on the merits of the case. But at this point of time, to say that no crime has happened, it will be difficult to make a statement like that considering the previous orders of the Supreme Court. However, I mean, whether the court comes to a conclusion that this fresh investigation should be a part of the previous court's order, or whether this new FIR should sustain, that will again be seen to the minute details by the competent court to decide on that.
Yeah, coming back to you, Nikhil Jain, the points that have been raised regarding this fallacy, as pointed out by the BJP, that, you can't talk about the long duration, but also in this case, if you're calling it bogus, the FIRs named multiple persons, even Sam Pitroda, their entities like AJL, Young Indian and Dotex, this shell company, have also been named in this FIR.
So, Gandhi, let's just look at the broad allegations and charges that are being put forth by the investigative agencies. Let's not make, for a moment, let me, draw out from the controversy of BJP versus Congress, this being a political witch hunt. Let's just look at the case and the legal merits of it. What is AJL? AJL is a company that owns several newspapers, including the National Herald, Qaumi Awaz, and Navjeevan. They employ staff, they publish newspapers, they publish websites, they have expenses. They also own several properties across various cities in the country, and the investigative agencies are saying that those properties aggregate to a net value of about 2,000 crores very well. Now, the thing is that AJL was not able to sustain its operations, which is why the Congress party, a political party, gave them an interest-free loan, which is perfectly permissible within law, and it was given to a newspaper that has a legacy from the freedom movement. That is perfectly legal, right? Now, Young India takes over certain equity in AJL. Young India has not taken over any of the properties or assets of AJL. And most importantly, Young India is a non-profit company. It is very akin to a trust. So if I make somebody a trustee or somebody a principal of a school, that doesn't mean I have named the property or assets of that trust or that school to that trustee. And that is the position of Gandhis in this entire scheme. They are trustees. They are not beneficial stockholders. No assets have been transferred to them. They are not personally utilizing the properties. They're not getting any lease or rent or licensing or any sort of monetary gain from the properties. It is just that young Gandhis are stakeholders in a non-profit called Young India. Young India is a shareholder in AJL. AJL still and continues to own the assets. Gandhis cannot use those assets even if they wanted to, and they have not used it. Now, please tell me, how does that cause financial irregularity or money laundering or criminal conspiracy? If I'm not owning the assets, how have I laundered
that's
money?
Really up to the court to decide, because again, as I say, these are charges that the ED has brought, and now this criminal conspiracy charge to Tuhin Sinha. But clearly, from what we heard from Rashid Kidwa and Amitabh, there is this sense that this case is kept bubbling. It's opened again and again for this long duration to keep this cloud of corruption on the Gandhis, and the timing also is being questioned by not just the Congress party but by others also, clearly seeing how this case has just been brought up right ahead of the winter session.
Just let me just clarify to Rashid bhai first. I was talking of the murder of Shibu Soren's secretary, which is a related case to the JMM bribery case. The case was opened in 1994 and the conviction of Shibu Soren happened in the later part of 2006. I was talking about that. So now coming to, this particular case, the Gandhis have gone to the High Courts seeking that the case be quashed. The High Court clearly ruled that out. They went to the Supreme Court. The only exemption Supreme Court provided them was from personal appearance. That is the only exemption, but the Supreme Court, allowed the case to progress. Then they went to the Income Tax Department. The Income Tax Department clearly said that there was no evidence of this new organization being a charitable organization and hence there was wrongdoing. The ED investigated the case based on which the charges are very grave. Criminal conspiracy and 420, which is fraud. And if
but again, why is it taking this long? If there are these charges, if they are factual, then it should be taken up and proven by the enforcement directorate. And as I asked Amitabh, opposition keeps claiming that agencies are being used to target them. Right, Tuhin Sinha?
No. So, if we had filed the case, first of all, the case was not filed by us. The case was filed by a private individual. If the private individual has not been pursuing it aggressively or whatever be the reason, we are not involved for the delay in a judicial process which does not involve the government in the first place. Yes, I mean, there are judicial delays. That's a separate issue that needs to be curbed and the judicial system needs to be to work with greater pace. That's a fact which all of us accept. But that's a separate issue. This whataboutery does not work over here.
All right.
Multiple times. When the Gandhis tried to get the case quashed, their plea was dismissed and the case went on with the permission of the courts.
All right, Rashid Kidwai, final word to you also about what the BJP is saying, the fact that these are agencies, it was brought by Subramaniam Swamy. What do they have to do with it?
That is, the BJP is being economical with truth. The fact of the matter is the private individual is a former BJP MP. He may be a disgruntled BJP leader.
But not at that time.
Have you checked his tweets today?
Yes.
No, that's what I'm saying, disgruntled leader. The fact of the matter is, if there is if what Mr. Tuhin Sinha is saying is a grave crime that has happened, though it's all been it's been all notional sort of allegations, but as matter is sub judice, I am not getting into it. Clearly, from a citizen's point of view, it looks clearly a case of political vendetta, witch hunting. Because where leader of opposition and somebody who's been in public life, they are being targeted and without charges being proved. Because this is very unfair to anybody. Mr. Sinha comes from a political party. All political parties should unite against this. The process cannot be punishment. And therefore, if there is a case, then they should be punished.
All right, I have just 30 seconds. Amitabh, if you'd like to add anything here, and this perception also, as Rashid Kidwai was saying, that agencies being used and opposition parties being targeted, and the process becoming the punishment.
No, see, it's the allegations are serious. It's a complex case. There are questions about company law and about the letter and the spirit. Correct. So this is going to be a landmark case in that sense. The Supreme Court and the High Courts have quashed whatever appeals the Congress party has made, but we also need to take into account the fact that the case is being heard at the trial court, which is the Sessions Court now.
Yes.
So you have an appeal mechanism to High Court and Supreme Court. So this is easily a 5 to 10 year case, which will be taking place in the courts, and also the parallel battle will happen in the public courts, and largely perception of the people will be driven by the political alignments.
All right, and whether this even affects public, opinion. Yes, Nikhil, final, I'm completely out of time. Yes.
Thank you so much. Young India Private Limited is registered under Section 25 of the Companies Act 1956. That is available on MCA records, and that itself is a section only for non-profit and charitable institutions. So Young India, without a doubt, legally is a non-profit. Secondly, the complainant may not be in the BJP right now.
All right.
But the investigative agencies and prosecution is under the Home Ministry, which is with the Government of India and the BJP.
All right, so we'll leave it there. Thank you so much all for joining us. Lots of questions, counter questions. In the end, it's the evidence, not the rhetoric, that will decide the fate of this case for however long this case continues to drag on. That's all the time we have. Thank you for watching.